Okay, so this is a bit of an interactive Bible study, maybe for us and maybe for those who are also watching online. What's going on?
She gave you the whiteboard.
Yeah, I don't like the whiteboard because nothing's straight and proper. I don't like it.
Well, it's there if you need it.
So, nah, that's all right. No, don't like it. So tonight's Bible study is called The Unfailing Goodness of God. He never lets us down. So for new Christians and mature Christians and everybody in between, the purpose of this study is basically to designed to restore the faith in the goodness and reliability of God, especially for those who have felt forgotten, let down, or alone in seasons of pain or in waiting, those that have been, who feel like they've been left on the shelf, and highlights God's character as being faithful, good, and ever present. So that's the aim or the purpose. So we'll see how we go, see how far we go. So basically, the introduction or my tagline is talking about the goodness of God when we're going through times of trouble can be really difficult, especially when we're finding ourselves in the middle of a catastrophe or something's gone wrong. You know, the car's broken down and we've got a snake in the paddock and the snake catchers jumping up and down, and mechanics jumping up and down, and everything's going wrong, and you've got to be at the airport and trying to fix the car, and it's just not looking good. And you think, well, how can God be good? Seriously, when all this calamity is falling down, like not just one problem, but a whole stack of stuff is just going wrong. And I'm sure that we've all been in that place, and we're probably all going to be in that place in some times. So it sort of got me thinking, and this is why I want to pick your brains as well. And that question is, are the people in the Bible, the characters, are they any different? Were they perfect? Were they free of trouble, free of hassles? Did they ever encounter any problems? And I was just wondering if anybody could name a few characters in the Bible. I'll start off with Elijah, who was a great man of God and everything, and he did incredible things. And then he was confronted with a particular woman who was going to threaten him and promise, was going to do all sorts of horrible things, and he bailed out. He was running off like a jackrabbit, hiding. So I was wondering, does anybody else know of a character that had difficulties? Put everybody on the spot. Joseph, yeah. Joseph and many colours, yeah. What happened to him?
Well, he had that, I think, he ended up in a pit, but I've always heard it like, preacher in training.
Yes, that's exactly right. He was sold off. That's right. So he was sold off.
Yeah.
And God used him in a greater way in the end.
Well, look, the fact that he was in the prison.
Yeah.
He was in prison.
Yeah.
Forgotten about in prison.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty drastic what happened.
I was thinking of Samson. He had his fair share of
trouble, women trouble
with the girls as well.
Yep,
that's right. And King David.
I actually got King David down here. He experienced so many sufferings, personal anguish, family strife, external prosecutions. He really went through the run of the mill. I've also got Jonah, who had, he was swallowed by the great fish, and and God told him to go and save a town, and he spat the dummy, and he just wanted to die, and all that. So he really but God still gave favor to him, and yeah. So that was.
Well, look at Saul even.
Yeah, that was Saul.
Mhm.
And who else? Job.
Oh yeah.
Lock the door.
Oh, hang on.
Did we say something?
More intermission.
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 Coffee.
Back again. So, Elijah,
Saul,
Paul, Job. Well, he lost his family. He lost basically everything that he had. 1, 2, David and Jonah. So so you can see from all of those people, like, they weren't perfect, and they had calamity, and so it's what they went through is what we go through in the in similar same sorts of things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So people in the Bible, they were real, they were normal, not perfect. They were just ordinary people, and so the main text, or one of the main texts I want to look at, is Exodus 33, 18 to 19. Did you want to have to find that in the Bible?
Quick one, but yeah.
33, 18 to 19. Let's start with that and see what it says.
33.
18 to 19.
Yeah.
So then Moses said, "Now show me your glory." And the Lord said, "I will cause all my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord, in your presence. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion."
Yeah. So it's interesting because Moses wanted to actually ask God to show his glory, because that's what he was fixated, and that was the important aspect to him. But in God's eyes, his goodness in this situation was more important, and he wanted to reveal his goodness, which I guess in our way of thinking wouldn't be so important or as exciting or glorious, but that's what God revealed to Moses was his goodness, and I thought that was different. And Psalms 27:13, it talks about, "I have lost heart unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." So in that time, the author, he was in a pretty bad disaster of way, and he was losing heart, and he was pretty well down, but even though he was in that sort of situation, the goodness of the Lord was his focus on that, and I thought that was really that was incredible. So Moses asked to see God's glory, and God responded by showing his goodness. God's goodness is not just what he does, it is his very nature. It's actually even more than that. The goodness of God is his actual personality and his character. It's woven into his very act. You cannot separate the goodness from God. It's impossible. So it's not just something God picks up or puts down, or
He's having a good day.
Or he's having a good day. He's not having a good day. It's actually a part of his character, his very nature, his goodness. That's who he is, and he can't change that. Even if he wanted to, he cannot change that goodness about him. So the question I was going to ask then is, what does it mean that God's goodness is a part of his character? And basically, I think I just answered it, didn't I? unless anybody else has got something to add. But basically, God's
That's one of
character.
the fruits of the Spirit, isn't it?
Mm.
You're right, like that's his character. That's one of the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah, and God's nature is righteous and holy, and on all of those aspects, and all those things he can't change, even if he wanted to. They are his nature. Where we can have a bad day, we can feel good, we can feel bad. God is just the way he is, and he can't change it.
Yeah,
So,
it's good.
so the next part, I think, basically talks about like God never leaves us, even when we feel alone. And Deuteronomy 13, 6-8. What does that one? Let's see what that one says.
So if your very own brother or your son or
Oh.
daughter,
Be strong and courageous.
did you say Deuteronomy 13?
Yeah, maybe that's the wrong one. Oh no, I messed up. But the verses I was thinking of, it talks about, maybe you can Google it, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all of Israel, be strong and courageous, for you must go with the people into the land. And the Lord swore to his ancestors to give you them. You must divide it among them as their inheritance. So he's not just in front of a friend, he's in front of the entire population, and he's making this big announcement. So, and the Lord himself in verse 8 says, could go before you and will be with you, and he will never leave you nor forsake you. So do not be afraid and do not be discouraged. So I'm sure he'll be feeling under the pressure and standing in front of the people, and then being giving this message to actually go out and do what he had to do. Yeah, the confidence he must have had to be actually step out. So maybe it was in Hebrews 13,
There's one in
5.
Joshua
Oh, okay.
1:9 as well. Says that being strong and courageous.
Oh, okay. What does that say?
Yeah, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.
Yeah. And then I've got Hebrews 13:5. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Was that right? It's good to have it on your phone.
Keep your life free from the love of money. Did you say Hebrews 13:5?
And what's the next bit below?
I will never.
And be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, so it's just constant reminders all throughout the Bible that, you know, God states that he keeps reminding, keeps prompting, keeps reminding over and over again that God is a faithful God, that he's always there, that he'll never leave us, nor he's a bit like a parent with a child, always leading the child on. That's what God's like with us. He's always there, always reminding that reassuring. You know, like God promises, I've just got it here underlined, God promised to never abandon his people, even in fear, disappointment, or pain. Feeling abandoned does not mean absence. It's always, God is always present, even in the silence. And I guess that's probably the worst thing is the silence. Because it was just a question here. What makes us feel abandoned by God sometimes? Any ideas? My answer is God does not always answer you. Things are going wrong and there is no way out. So in those times where everything's silent and you're sort of yelling at God, where are you? Where are you? Everything's going wrong. For me, that's God doesn't answer. Yeah, next question. Oh, yeah, this sort of question. How can you hold on to God's truth of God's presence in emotional, spiritual valleys? So how like when the wheels are falling off and it's everything's bad and not going well, how can we hold on to the truth of God that He's still there, even though we can't see Him or sometimes hear his still quiet voice? My answer I've got put down is past experiences, past tests that I've been through, gives me encouragement, like for the future challenges.
Well, it's the reassurance that He's done it before and He'll do it again. He's the same yesterday, today, forever.
Yeah,
He's been there in the past, and He'll continue to be there.
Yeah, I know when you're going through it, there's always that like walking on thin ice sometimes, but I guess through having faith and confidence and growing and all that, then
I guess my faith shrinks when I look at the problem rather than the problem solver.
Yeah,
And that gets really big, and he gets really small. Right when I turn it around, I go, "Oh, is the problem small? God's big."
Yeah, and that's also in the reverse when things are going great and you got lots of money and you got a brand new car and a big house and everything's going great. Well, then you don't really need God too, because or do you need God because you got perfect health and got everything you want? You forget God too, on the flip side.
There is that scripture that says, don't make me so rich that I forget you, and don't make me so poor that I'll steal.
Yep, so, that's exactly it. Yep, exactly right. Yep.
Or you can go to Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare, not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope.
Yeah, that's
pretty
definitely
clear.
That's really good. I know for like more mature Christians, you've been through it, you've lived it, you got the T-shirt and like it's just another test, well, I'll breeze through that. But then you look at when you was a baby Christian and when you didn't know all this stuff and you didn't have all the confidence and you were just testing the waters and things go wrong, my outlook and my responses were totally different. I'm running around in circles, my head cut off, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? But so I guess with time and experience and maturity, growth and having that faith, it grows. So yeah. So the next part was God shows up on the right time, and I was using the story of Lazarus for this one. Did you want to find that one? John 11, 1-44. I'm not sure.
Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. Did you say 1 to 5?
Yeah, that's fine. So, so Jesus, so Lazarus, as they sort of started, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, like they were Jesus' close buddies, friends. They would have talked together. They would have probably had meals together. They would have shared teaching and conversation and all of that stuff. So he just wasn't just some passerby or some, someone that he knew. That these people were super close to Jesus, and the fact that Jesus received word that his best friend wasn't feeling well, and because getting sicker and sicker. But we all would have thought that Jesus hearing those words, that he would have stopped everything and he would have rushed over to Lazarus and he would have made him better, and they would have had would have celebrated and all that sort of thing. But Jesus didn't. He just waited and did his thing and waited and then came in his own time when Lazarus had actually passed, and and in John 11:21, what does that one say?
Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died.
So, yeah, so she knowing that Jesus was Lazarus and their best friends, you would have think that he would have done the favor and come early, healed him, and got on his merry way, and everything would have been sweet. But he didn't. He just Jesus didn't. He had to do his own thing. So and they were probably a bit despondent, a bit questioning Jesus. Why? What's going on? If he'd been here before, he would have been sweet. But so I've got down that. So if they were best friends, so why did Jesus tarry? So why did he delay? Because his best friend was dying and he did pass away. So why didn't he not rush? Mary and Martha thought that. That's all right.
I reckon he would have known the outcome, and he was waiting for him to, because he already said that this one's not unto death.
That's right.
So he was waiting for him to, put him in the tomb, and
he knew.
He knew.
Yeah, and I guess too that Jesus would have been a bit patient and a bit tolerant with Mary and Martha, because he could see their anguish and their disappointment, in the fact that Jesus, he didn't show up, but he still wasn't. He still had grace and everything.
Yeah.
So so he took it in his stride, and that's exactly right. What you were saying, Jesus, it was a divinely aligned to reveal like Jesus' greater glory. If he didn't heal him when he was alive, well, then it would have stopped all of that from happening. So yeah, you're right. Jesus knew.
And there was a crowd, wasn't there?
There was a whole crowd of people all gathered to watch to see, So the impact would have been absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Then there's possibly another tie-in as well. That it's an example of what's going to happen when Jesus is put on the cross.
Yeah.
That the Father's going to raise him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
And just to show, because it's evidence that it can happen.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
So God works everything out for good. Romans 8:28, and what you were saying, and we know that all good things, God works out for good for those who love him and have been called according to his purposes. Which is, pretty mind-boggling, to think that God would take us who aren't perfect and, don't deserve his grace, and, God's still there and still working things out, good gifts. In Genesis 50 verse 20, it says, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. So, even when things do go bad, God's going to use it for his glory. We might not understand what we're going through, of course. We can't see the big picture, but God's not going to give us, bad things.
Mm.
And he'll work things out for his glory, just like he did with Lazarus. So, I was just pointing out what you were saying before about Joseph. Joseph endured. He was betrayed in slavery. He was imprisoned. Yet God used every moment to position him for his future purpose. No pain is wasted, for God's goodness can redeem any circumstance. I'm sure Joseph, he would have been, scratching his head. What's going on? He's been sold by his brothers. He's ended up in jail, and things going to get any much worse, I reckon. So, yeah. So one of the questions I was going to ask is, can you think of a time when God used something bad in your life for something good? When you didn't realize or didn't know it, or you was halfway through a problem, or have a think, see if you can think of something that's happened where something's gone wrong and God's provided a way out when you didn't least expect it, or God's come through at the right time. I'll have a think about that.
It's only something. What just comes to mind is something small, but when we first moved down here, things were going backwards really quickly, and came to one week that we had no meat, only a few vegetables, and I said, sorry kids, all we got is a few vegetables, and that's going to have to last us the week. And we prayed, and there was a knock at the door, and a lady stood there with the side of a sheep. What? And said, "Oh, God told me earlier on to drop off half a sheep to you," and it was all cut up and everything.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And so that demonstrated to the kids and even to us that God cares. Even God provides. So.
Yeah, and it's not always the big things that it's little things. Probably sometimes have more of an impact in our lives, like exactly like that.
Yeah.
Like the provision of food when there ain't no food in the cupboard. That's it's really good. Yeah, definitely good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So the good shepherd always comes for his sheep. I'm guessing everybody should be familiar within Luke and John, where it talks about the shepherd, and he has his 99 sheep, and the one that's wandered off, and he's the one that goes after that sheep that's wandered off and done his own thing. And I'm guessing that's a bit like us sometimes, where when we maybe first started out, or we think we're being called by God to do something, and off we go in our own little merry way, and we're going further and further and into the distance. And when God's sort of over here thinking, come back. But then God doesn't leave us out there. He'll go and bring us back, guide us back, and make sure that we come back to the fold. Yeah. And that's also in John 10, 11 to 14, I am the good shepherd who lays down his life for his sheep. Unlike the hired hand who does not care about his own sheep, and when the wolf comes, he leaves the sheep and flees, because he is a hired hand and not concerned about the sheep. Where Jesus says, I'm the good shepherd. I know you, and you're my own, and my own know me. So that's the relationship that Jesus has as the good shepherd with his sheep. Jesus is the good shepherd who always pursues the lost, the broken, and the straying. He doesn't forget us or abandon us. When we're weak, he'll come after us. So just another question. Have we ever felt like this, the the last sheep, the sheep that's wandered off.
Left behind.
I know I can say that because when I was in Darwin, I sort of let my hair out and I didn't have my parents around me. So, you go off with the bright lights and all those things you shouldn't be doing. And you start off really good and then you sort of wander off and start getting involved with everything you're not supposed to. And then, the conviction comes and then, God starts rearing you back in again. And yeah, get like the sun that disappeared and come back. So yeah. Sorry, I'm flipping the coin.
Yeah, that's funny.
Someone done that today.
Oh, okay. You'll have to tell us afterwards. So, in all of this, I know we've had certain people talk about joy and finding your joy. Has been a topic in the past by a previous guest speaker, and being one of the keys of being isolated in our times of trouble. So, and the question is being put to me personally. So, how does this relate to your view of joy? Can we be joyful in our trials when everything is looking bad? Can we still be joyful? Can we keep our joy? I would have said no because I'm a pretty grumpy and I look on the bad side of the coin, I guess. But I'm sort of leaning that the answer is actually yes. That I need to find my joy. But at the same time, how can you when things are going so bad? And I guess that comes back to understanding what joy is and where it comes from and what its actual source is. We look for joy and happiness in all the good things, but that's not really biblical sense of joy. Our joy is not based on circumstances or our performance or how easy or how hard life gets. It's not dependent on how good we are or how many trials we face, how much we achieve. True joy is found in Jesus Christ, the unchanging source of all joy. He is our joy not because life is perfect, but because he is perfect. His presence, his promise, and love anchor us in every storm. In him we can rejoice, not because we are without pain, but because we are never without him. And yeah, that's what I'm sort of getting my head around now with everything else that I'm getting my head around at the same time as well. So there's lots of things to get my head around. But joy is one of those things that I've never really had time for, never really understood it, didn't fathom it, didn't grasp it. But the light's slowly going on. And especially when joy is found in Jesus, not in our own human joy and pain and sorrow and happiness, because that's always going up and down all the time and it's never stable. Yeah, joy of the Lord. So you make known to me my path of life. Your presence there is fullness of joy. Your right hand are pleasures forevermore. And that's in Psalms. So the answer is, can we rest in the storm? Because God is the one who is fighting for us. So yes, we can. So just thoughts on the conclusion, I guess you could say there are many more Bible verses that mentions God's faithfulness and goodness. So what are some of the things that we can do to lift ourselves out of the pit that we find ourselves in? And this is what I was working on before. One of the most powerful tools I've found really lately is worship. That's right. When I'm in the midst of trouble, worship. And that's most unorthodox back to front thing I've ever come across is if you're in having a difficult time, I've been told by different pastors and preachers and people, worship God. I'm thinking, it doesn't make sense. But it's sort of learning that worship is a powerful weapon. When we are down, when we need to build up our faith, and worship does this. It's like a key that unlocks heaven and able to usher in God's presence. Worship is more than just music or singing. It is a spiritual weapon, a posture of the heart and a declaration of truth. Through Scripture, we see worship shifts atmosphere, breaks chain, and invites the presence of God into the most impossible situations. And I got 2 Chronicles 20 and Acts 16 for that. When we worship, we align ourselves with our hearts with heaven, silence the enemy's lies, and magnifies the greatness of our God. Worship lifts our eyes from our circumstances and places them firmly on the one who is faithful. In worship, we find strength, breakthrough, and the power to stand firm in every season. So I've just got worship breaks down the gloom. Worship changes the atmosphere. Worship lifts us up when we're alone or with others. Worship is a personal sacrifice that you give of your time, yourself to God. You give, your time, yourself, your commitment to yourself to God, honoring God before all things. Worship is like fuel or power of heaven. And lots of verses that say worship is like incense before God. So in closing, God is good. His goodness is not based on how we feel or what we face. It's his very nature. He is good in the valley and on the mountains, and in the waiting and in the breakthrough. His love never fails. His mercies never end. And his plans are always good for us. In every moment, we can trust that he is working out all things together for those who love him. Truly, the goodness of God is our foundation, our anchor, and our everlasting hope. So that's what I was going to say. But just before I ask questions and stuff, I was saying about worship and how it's sort of taken hold of my life, and how I get up at 8 o'clock and stuff and get into worship and things. But of late, it's not enough time. So I'm thinking about actually having to get up at 7:30 to make more time. And I'm thinking, what's going on with me?
It's good.
Because before, 5 minutes is too much. 10 minutes is not, no way. I'm not doing 10 minutes of praise and worship. No way in the world. But now,
That's the old Tim.
that's the old, and I'm struggling to get my head around it, because half an hour is really good. Even an hour is even better. But then I haven't got time to get ready for work and stuff. So now I'm going to have to get up earlier. And
Holy Spirit told you that.
And the Holy Spirit told me that, and it's just defies my logic, because it ain't me. That's not how I think, but it is. Myself is changing, evolving, adapting to something I never thought I would be like.
And being obedient.
And being obedient too. Like I used to, struggle, fight, kick up a stink, do anything else for it. But now it's like I'm guarding it, and I've got to do it.
That's good.
So
Cool.
if anybody any questions or answers or however people feel about this sort of stuff, it's good to